All right, welcome to episode 3 of the Cam and Joe podcast. Today we're talking about the cryptos, making them dollar bills from them tokens and them coins. Actually, pretty cool timing because we recorded this, but I had some technical difficulties. So we're re-recording. Was it last night or was it today when that $500 million XRP purchase was made?
I think that was now 4 days ago.
Okay. Dude, so oddly that the price only went up to 40 cents from a $500 million purchase. Like, why do you think? Is it not like, is there a lot
if you purchase over the counter, which is for like high volume purchases, it doesn't affect, from my understanding, the price.
Why would someone do that then though? Like, wouldn't it be more advantageous for them to make a massive purchase and like hyperinflate the price?
Because an exchange probably doesn't have that many tokens. So you couldn't purchase it all in one place. Over the counter is like you're basically buying directly like from the company. You have to usually those places you have to do high volume, like 500,000 minimum or something like that purchase.
So they bought what, 1.5 billion tokens, you said?
Roughly. I mean, depending on what the price was when they purchased. If it was, 33 cents, 34 cents, and they bought a $500 million worth,
Jeez.
That's, roughly 3 to 1.
3 to 1. So yeah, dude, that's so many. Oh my God. When I saw that, I was like, dude, what a great day. It's like those big buys, somebody knows something.
Yes. You don't spend that kind of money, which my guess is like probably an investment fund or something like that. Like I highly doubt that's an individual person.
You don't think it's a whale?
To think of how many people would even have that amount of money on the planet, like maybe a few hundred or a few thousand. Dude, we're talking billionaires, right? Like that's basically billionaires purchasing that, or a fund that has billions in it to be able to purchase.
Okay.
It wouldn't make sense if somebody's worth 500 million and they literally put all their capital into it. I mean, unless, it's like straight up insider trading, for sure something's going to hit. But like, yeah, first off, I just want to say, before we start diving any further into this is not financial advice. This is for entertainment purposes only. Please do your own research, and I'll leave
dial
it at that.
Back even more because we just jumped in. We're talking about XRP, which is Ripple, and so this is our current choice of like what I believe, and I think Cam as well believes, is at least a 10x investment right now. It's trading at 40 cents, but it's usually around 35 cents. Yeah, and so there was this huge whale or investment firm purchase. Odd, yeah, but it makes sense that you said if it was over the counter, if it was direct, it wouldn't like inflate the price, because that's basically based on price action on the exchange that makes the price go up. Yeah, I don't know.
Correct, but because it's on the XRP ledger, which is like tracks all the transactions, it's a public ledger for everyone to see. That's how, people just specifically like target or check when like a really big kind of out of the ordinary purchase or sale takes place.
That makes me feel good because, dude, the stock market is the total bum right now. I mean, good time to invest in the stock market, but it's funny because like when the market was hot, like, I don't know, it was like 3 or 4 years ago, you could buy like a turd and it would go up like 300%. Like it was the worst and best thing ever because I just gotten into trading stocks and I was like, I am a stock god. And I like my account went up like 300% off of like a very small amount of money at the time because it was like new. And I think I threw $100 in a Robinhood account and like grew it. But now it's like you got to really be strict and smart to make money investing. But at the same time, if you can identify something that's like not popped yet, that has a crazy catalyst, like XRP with the SEC battle they have going on right now, that's how you can make a huge nut in like maybe a year.
Yeah, I definitely agree with you. I feel like, well, first of all, like every financial market is basically manipulated, and it won't like dive too deep into that. But once you kind of, I guess, understand kind of how the things are manipulated, then I feel like that gives you more of an advantage to try to see kind of the ups and downs and what's happening. But right now the market's definitely like at the top. And with inflation and what's happening with the interest rates, like a correction crash is coming for sure. Like we're already in a recession, even though they're trying to claim that we're not. But I think we're really going to see the impact of that coming in October, November of this year. Which again,
Dude,
that's a good time, right? When everything crashes and corrects, come in and buy.
I love it, but I hate it. Like I know I got to get real smart and savvy right now to like find these diamonds that can like really like get big. But man, I wish I had more freaking cash, dude. Like more disposable income right now. Like just once the real estate market crashes, I would love to just start scooping shit up. Like if I just had like hundreds of thousands of dollars to burn, it'd be so cool.
Oh yeah, definitely. But look at it this way: is that roughly the real estate trends is like every 10 or 15 years, right? So you might not have as much as you would like now, but if you're able to still get in when things drop, whether that's stocks or whatever you can afford, like that's the opportunity. Then you ride that wave, and then the next time when it comes, you're able to sell at those highs, and now you have more to roll into the next time. So yeah, I felt the same way. Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
No. Finish your thought. That sounded like it was going to be
I was just going to say, I literally felt the same thing in 2008. Like, I'm like, man, 2009, when prices are correct, I'm like seeing people scooping up houses left and right. And I'm like, I wish I had more. I mean, besides just being able to get, like qualified to be able to purchase one home, I'm like, I wish I had cash to be able to do that.
We got to get that Mark Cuban cash. He keeps like hundreds of millions of dollars in cash. Like when the market crashed, when was it? I don't know. When we had the crash in like 2008, he tried to buy the Cubs and he had like $800 million in cash just like chilling. And they turned him down, of course, for what, because he's a little, outspoken. And I think that team's got a very conservative ownership, or they did at the time. But dude, like that is nutty. I mean, I don't understand the value of that though. Like having $800 million essentially losing money. Or do you think he has some like fancy account where he like makes enough interest to like beat inflation?
I would assume he's probably in something, but he's just, it's fairly liquid to where, he can get that cash out in like a matter of days or weeks if he needs to. Because like you said, I mean, just wasting opportunity.
We need those cubes dollars, man.
Yeah.
But yeah, so XRP, awesome. And then in terms of like the usage of the coin, it's like funny because we covered like some really great technicals on the other one. But essentially, you told me about this when we met like 10 months ago. And I was like, oh, okay, yeah, cool. You get tips all the time from people. And I was like, yeah, maybe I'll take a look at it. And then like we talked about it like 3 times. And I was like, okay, I should probably look at this. Finally, Google it. And I'm like, oh, shit, like this isn't like just a meme coin or like some bullshit token. It's like a transactional. It's not actually a blockchain. It's a hash tree. Maybe you can explain what that is because I don't really know the difference. But it's used by like Bank of America, PNC, like MasterCard. I was Googling it earlier. Was it MasterCard or Visa? They like partnered with XRP and like tweeted about it and then had to like delete the tweet once like XRP started getting sued by the SEC.
I don't remember which one of the two that it was, but to your point, I was the exact same boat as you. Like I have a good friend, Chi. He was like, kept telling me over and over, probably for like a year about this. And he was like, man, you got to check this out. You got to check this out. And I was like, oh yeah. And then when I finally did, I was like, oh, okay. Yeah. Like, cool. I'll check it out. I'll throw some money at it. And then I started looking into it and I was like, holy shit. Like this, because like you said, most coins are basically just like a meme or they're not really solving like a problem. Like this is solving a humongous problem. As far as like, it's very expensive to transfer money, to make payments. Like even when you swipe your debit card at the store, it's like, I think a 23-cent fee that goes. And usually the retailers will pay for it. But it's expensive. And to give people an idea that aren't familiar with XRP, it is the fastest cryptocurrency in existence, like 3 to 5 seconds to handle a transaction. They can do it 24/7. It's scalable. So to give you an idea, they're currently doing like 1,500 transactions a second on average, but supposedly they could scale up to 50,000 transactions a second.
Yeah, because I read that Visa currently with their system can do 1,700. but it's like the max scalability of the current technology that they have, which is technically what 200 more per second than Ripple at that 1500, but it's non-scalable. Whereas Ripple, to your point, 50x right there, 30x, whatever.
Exactly. And we'll get into some specifics of like how much money is actually transferred like on a daily basis globally to give you an idea of how massive this can be. But it's also the most energy efficient like coin that's out there. Basically, it doesn't use like any energy at all, unlike Bitcoin, which is, you know, very expensive to run and uses like tons of kilowatts per transaction. And I forget the number of transactions that XRP's done since it's been in existence, but it's never been hacked and it's never had errors. To give you an idea, like the Swift system, their admitted publish error rate is 6%.
6%?
Yeah, require human intervention because there's problems. And most 6%? Of those still get sent
That's
through. But
monstrous.
To give you an idea, they do about 46 million transactions a day. 6% is a lot of errors.
Yeah.
So
I've never had a credit card transaction. No, that's not true. Maybe a couple in my life.
I've had wire issues before, wiring money that the bank jacked it all up in it.
Like, is it so it's like the wires, not like the
everything
like debit or credit transactions that have this, or it's across the board?
I think that includes everything, or that's just Swift. I think by itself is the 46 million transactions. So give me an idea. Roughly in a day, Swift does $5 to $6 trillion for global currency that they move around a day.
Jeez.
And then that's not even the most. ACI, which is like a worldwide, they do real-time payment software for banks, and 19 of the top 20 banks currently use their software. They do 14 trillion on average a day. And then FedWire, which is a transfer service for like banks, businesses, and government services, they do 2 trillion a day. So if you add those up, to give you an idea, that's 8 quadrillion a year with a Q. So it goes billion, trillion, and then quadrillion. So $8 trillion, $8 quadrillion, a year are being moved around these systems. So just give you an idea, like, what do you think the price of a coin would have to be able to handle that kind of volume?
The like price of a coin to handle the volume of...
Like, what do you think the XRP price would have to be able to handle that kind of volume?
I don't even have like a brain cell that... A brain... Is that what it's called? A brain cell? God, I'm an idiot. A brain cell that could like even like grasp that. Like, I think it would, in my mind, if something was moving that much money, you would think it would be really expensive.
So yeah, it would have to be a high price. Like the creator, which is David Schwartz, he's, I believe, the CTO at Ripple. He was one of the original part of the team, and he's basically the like genius behind creating the coin. He was like an early, I think, working with Bitcoin, and saw flaws in the system of it not being scalable and like very inefficient. And that's kind of how XRP came out of that, because they want to create something better. And he stated before, I think it was on Twitter or something like that, where he was saying like, yeah, it doesn't make sense. It's just like Bitcoin, for example. If someone were to buy like a house with Bitcoin and the price of $100, like that's not realistic, because by the time you were able to collect enough Bitcoin to pay for a house, let's say the house is like, $300,000, the price would have fluctuated like a bunch. Like it's not efficient at all. The
price because the transaction's so slow.
Yes.
That your exchange rate's going to have a ton of, what do they call that? It's like when you, because I know we were talking about Terra the other day, but like whenever you make like an exchange, there's like that buffer fee. Because like the price, and you like set like an acceptable amount of like price fluctuation that you're okay with from like the time you hit like send to the time it like actually like whatever. Yeah, the buffer fee on Bitcoin, or the buffer, the allowance would have to be huge in order to accommodate for the slow transactions.
Well, not just that, but then think of how much the price would move on the market if somebody had to accumulate that much to move, right? Like let's say XRP is like $1 and it's even handling like 10% of those transactions a day, you know how much XRP would have to be bought at $1 to be able to trillions, right? There's only 100 billion in existence. Like that wouldn't work. So the only way it works is the price has to be a lot higher. An example that David gave was, I think it was like if Bitcoin was $10,000 a coin, then it would work because it'd be much easier. You only have to, buy like 100 Bitcoin or something like that to cover that. So it would have to be such a high amount to where that volume moving doesn't affect the price really. The price doesn't change whether trillions are being moved or not. I have no idea what that number would be, but high. I mean,
so essentially, the lower the price, the more subject to change based on large transactions the token is. So you're saying that essentially, in order for it to, but will XRP ever be used as like a like purchase thing? Because it really more is just like a framework for quickly moving other forms of payment.
Correct. Yeah. So you hit the nail like right on the head with your summary of it is exactly right. The higher the price, the more stable the price stays. I don't know if it would be used for like day to day. I know right now they're currently with MoneyGram, like they own, I believe it's 10% of MoneyGram, and they've been using that for small transfers to like countries where a lot of people don't have access to banks and bank accounts. So, a lot of people work in the United States and are immigrants and will send money home to the countries they're from. So to use, I'm sure you've used like Western Union before or something like that. Like those fees are expensive.
Yeah.
You're sending like $100 home to, Philippines or Mexico or something. What's your fee? $25? Like,
oh my God, dude, that's actually really cool because
XRP is already solving that problem to where the fee is like 0.0002 of a cent. It's literally, so it's like nothing. It's like free basically. But to answer your question, I feel like digital currency is coming. There'll be a reset through the like IMF and the BIS of a like basket of commodities that will be used because, the dollar is basically in trouble and fiat money is not like a long-term solution. And I believe that XRP will end up being one of those currencies.
Dude, I was Googling. I'm like finally about to pull the trigger. There's a coin, like a nice, like bullion shop, like half a mile away. And I was looking up like what the best coins to buy are. Canadian maple leaves, someone said are good because like with the United States Eagles, you pay like a premium on them.
Yeah, so each coin does have a like a premium over spot, and the Eagles right now are really expensive, like $12 or $13.
Why is that? Is it because they're just
it's like, popular, and then the U.S. Mint is not producing as many. I think they have the capacity to do like 40 million 1 ounce coins a year, and they're only at like 18 or something, like really terrible, like way below what demand is, and demand has been skyrocketing. So, I mean, that's another investment. Silver is one of the most undervalued / suppressed, commodities on earth. But if you get some, you definitely need to have physical, like you got to hold it. Don't buy the paper commodity silver. That market, I've heard different numbers from like 20 to 100 times oversold what the actual physical they hold in the vaults to cover it. So if everyone who owned paper was like, yeah, I want my silver, they can only cover like 1% of that. So that's completely
they don't
fraud.
actually have to hold any of they literally only have to hold 1% of the value of what they're claiming to own.
No, they're supposed to hold 100%, but they're just full of shit and they don't have it. They've oversold what they have because they want to make money. And anytime they've been busted, like JP Morgan Chase was just in, like a couple of guys that work for them just went through a court case and were found guilty of basically manipulating the market. So, dude,
and the freaking fine for that, I mean, considering how much money they make, is like a slap on the wrist.
Yeah.
I was watching it's the Grand Tour, but it used to be the dudes on Top Gear. It's like that car show.
Mm-hmm.
And in, I think it was Finland, they charge for speeding. Because everything is like public info, like all your taxes and stuff, obviously. They charge you based on your income. So like the bankers, they make $1 billion, they get slapped on the wrist. Let's say they pay $5 million. Cool. It's nothing. But if this shipping magnate who was like a billionaire in Finland, he got a speeding ticket. It cost 118,000 euros to pay the speeding ticket, because that was like the equivalent of like enough of a slap. I mean, it's probably to that guy still nothing, but still it's like enough of an de-incentivization where people like stop doing stupid shit. But I mean, I don't know. Like, what are your thoughts on that? I'm kind of like, if you can't beat them, join them guy. And I know it's not fair and it's kind of dumpy, but at the same time, it's like if you can get to a level where the system, it sounds so awful to even say that. I don't know. What are your thoughts? Where you're like above the
No,
system?
I 100% agree. You can get mad and upset, and it's like just like when the bank bailouts happened in 2008, right? Like taxpayer money, and country just went into more debt to bail those out. And this isn't like a left versus right, Republican, Democrat. Like both sides are corrupt, and both sides line their pockets and pay their friends. I mean, you just look at like the revolving door of people on Wall Street that end up at, you know, these positions in the government that write the regulations that let things slide and are supposed to be part of enforcement. Anyway, no, you can be mad, or you can start looking at it and be like, hey, if I see this going on, like how can I take advantage and also invest in a more efficient or smarter way, right? You just join them, right? Can't beat them, join them.
Yeah.
100%.
Yeah, and I think, and kind of what I'm hearing, what you're getting at, it's like you don't have to like be like any specific political alignment. You don't have to be even corrupt if you think that that is corrupt, which I think a lot of people would agree. But it's like, these are the rules of the game. I know for a fact I'm not going to change the rules in my lifetime. Maybe if I like became wildly successful and put a dent in them, but it would probably be from the inside anyways. So learn the rules of the game, and then how do we take advantage of them? You know, it's like that's the best thing you can do. And if you want to be low key and just be like a good person, just figure out the rules, make them work for you, and then, you know, have a dope life.
Exactly.
So what do you think? XRP is hot. They're definitely going to be loading up on that. I've been making like small, like literally $50 to $100 a week purchases, like dollar cost averaging it essentially.
Which I love, which is good. Like, what advice would you give to somebody that's, you know, hey, like, you know, I only have a small amount left over after I pay my bills. Like, you know, I live paycheck to paycheck type of thing. Like, what advice would you give them?
Yeah, there's this book called The Richest Man in Babylon. And I think it was by a dude, passed down verbally. Anyway, fast forward. The main concept is, so your income split it into 10 parts. 1/10 of that is your investment money. You're going to say, oh, well, I can't afford that. I spend all my money, or you know what I mean? I live paycheck to paycheck. You won't even notice it's missing. And that can be your like investment money. And then a portion of that can be your like, if you're not bought in on crypto, maybe your like YOLO money. It could be $10, but $10 a week, you know, $50 a week, whatever is like enough where it's like not going to like, you can't eat or something, right? That just do that, you know, like I can afford $50 a week. And if XRP doesn't pop off, which I think with all the due diligence that you've done and that I've done, I find I would be wildly surprised if it didn't. It's definitely worth, I'm like just going in like wild tangent here, but yeah, it's like, don't try to time the market. You know, what if you throw $10,000 and all of a sudden it's like you think it's going to fly off the rails and it dips? Oh shit, that sucks. Whereas even if you have 10,000, do it like $100 a week, $500 a week, like whatever's comfortable to like, you don't get screwed on the big dips, but yeah, you won't catch the big rips, but at the end of the day, you're going to keep moving up on that like up, down, upward trend. You know, it's like, you can't time the market. It's just time in the market.
No, you're 100% right. And you can definitely make money in meme coins and like anything, just like stock market, right? You can, you know, get increases by the dips and you can take profits at any time. But I really feel like XRP is a long-term hold. Not that you can't like take profits along the way, but I wouldn't rush in if somebody thinks, you know, hey, I'm going to buy now and a month from now it's going to, you know, be this high amount that I'm going to make or whatever. So
yeah, money that you don't need, right? Essentially, it's like
never
hold
invest,
it and like,
but you can't afford to lose.
Exactly. Yeah. And then like, I know one big thing is like, for me, it's like, we were talking about like Bitcoin. Like I knew a kid. So this is like rewind. My first job out of college, I was working at this startup And there was this kid, his name was Ryan. And he was like, yeah, dude, have you heard of this like Bitcoin? It's like this digital coin, like Silk Road. And I was like, that's dumb. You're going to lose your money. You're an idiot. He's like, oh, maybe I'll put like $1,000 in. And, you know, this Litecoin thing looks cool. It was like those two, which are like essentially two of the top 10 cryptos. And I just wonder where that kid is today. Like if he held on to it. Because back then, I think $1,000 worth of Bitcoin would have gotten you like 3,000 Bitcoin. Like maybe more. I think it was like cents for a Bitcoin at that time. Like when it was made so that people could like buy drugs on Silk Road. Like, yeah, bro, Silk Road, get some ecstasy. But there's no way he held. Like there's no way you could hold from like 6 cents, 30 cents, even a few bucks to like $60,000 at its peak. You know, like it's just like, I don't know. I wish I had that level of patience for anything because I get excited if I make like 20% on a stock. I'm like, I'm rich.
And you bring up a great point, right? Like, I feel like if and when XRP goes to $10, even $50, like 99.9% of people are going to sell it all.
$10
because if you bought in at if you bought in at 30 cents, 50 cents, and it goes to $10, dude, I mean that's how much? That's like a 20x.
So I have like 2,000
I wouldn't
XRP. I would be, what is that, 20 grand? It's not like a life-changing amount of money, but you could go like cash that out and go buy like like an investment property and like create some like stable passive income. But
that's the thing, like
you can not to sell, bro.
You can take that money to
sell
go
$1 or $5.
Exactly. So anyone who bought Bitcoin when it was like $1 or whatever, like I guarantee most of them didn't hold past a few $100, right? Like who would know?
Oh my God. I used to work with this girl. Her name was Sarah. Actually, her last name was Jameson, which was super cool. But she had this fat diamond ring and her husband worked in finance and he sold Bitcoin to buy her ring. And so he would always be like, do you have any idea how much that ring is worth now? Like when Bitcoin was like going up, because he was like, God damn it, why did I sell it to buy this ring? We could have been rich and retired.
That's another manipulated market is diamonds. They're intentionally like slow dripped out into the market. Diamonds are not rare. They're quite plentiful to increase the price. So, and
it's only in America. Like in Europe, they're like they'd buy like precious gems, like emeralds and shit like that. But yeah, diamonds are. But is De Beers controls the supply? They're like the whatever. They're like the farmer with the corn, but they're like or is it like the International Diamond Exchange? How does that work?
I'm not sure exactly, but I think there's like one company or whatever that basically controls the majority of the market and they set the price. Like in most markets, that's how it works. You know, it's not like a monopoly, but it's like, what do they call that? Like when there's a couple companies, it's like a monopoly, but it's called like a oligopoly or I don't know what the term is. But just another piece of advice. So the amount you said that you own, you might not think it's a lot now, but what if the price goes to 100,000? So and the other piece of advice I would have is never share with anyone. I mean, I guess your family or whatever, but the amount of crypto that you hold, because there's cases of people with Bitcoin, like the same thing. They would like be on the internet being like, oh yeah, I got like whatever, like 1,000 Bitcoin. And then when it hit 50 grand, well, guess what? Literally people like find them on the street and like rob them. There was cases where people get taken hostage and they were like beating them with like their like a laptop, like log in and like transfer your crypto to us or we'll kill you.
I've heard that. Like my buddy Luke is a really big like he's a professional. It's not his real name, by the way. He goes by that name, but like because he's so fucking worried about this stuff. Because he tells me these horror stories like, yeah, if you see these people they're posting about they have X amount of this currency, and then like all of a sudden someone shows up at their house and tortures them until they log into their account and drain it.
Yep.
So most like rich crypto people are like invisible off the grid. You'll never know about them because it's so dangerous, because it's so easy to steal it. Like there's no like prove I stole it. You logged in.
Exactly. Yeah. Yeah. Prove that it was under duress or something. Or it's a lot different when they take you to a bank. There's cameras and they can see what accounts it was wired to. Yeah.
Fraudulent charges on your credit card. It's like, that's easy, dude. That's
so I heard, be careful out there, people. Like, you know, be exciting.
That's so nuts, dude. It's just like, what a weird system that people are incentivized to, based on whatever their level of good versus evil or like morality is, what they grew up with, to do something like, do I think it's okay? No. Is it massively effective? Yeah, dude. Like if someone, and I don't want people to do this, but like someone's cool with kidnapping someone and like draining their crypto account, and then all of a sudden they're like have $10 million. Dude, what was that, like maybe like 2 weeks worth of work? Even if it took 6 months, that's a massive ROI. Sorry, it's like a dark topic.
Well, I believe in karma, so I mean those people might not have things happen to them now, but I think it catches up with you eventually. So
I just wonder like what someone's purpose like that is on Earth. Like their consciousness comes down and like inhibits like this body, and they're like what lesson or like what are they trying to accomplish by doing something like that? You know what I mean? Like I don't even know how to wrap my head around that.
Have you seen the movie? Oh my god, I forget what's the movie with Mark Wahlberg and The Rock about the bodybuilders. Like in South Beach, based on a true story from like I think in the 80s or 90s, where they kidnapped
Pain and Gain.
Oh yeah, Pain and Gain. Have you seen that movie?
No, dude.
Oh, you should watch it. Yeah,
dude, Wahlberg is yoked in this movie.
Yeah, so it's based off a true story. These 3 bodybuilders that work at this club, and one of the clients, they basically like kidnap him and torture him for like, I don't know, weeks until he signs like legal documents, like signing over all of his assets. And they
get away with it
for a while. Yeah. And then anyway, but I think that would give you the mindset of like what you're asking of somebody that's like that. So anyone who hasn't seen Pain and Gain, it's an interesting watch. And then there's parts of the movie you're like, no way, this was real. And then on the screen, it'll be like, this really happened.
Dude, I got to show you how yoked Wally Wahlberg is in this.
I just watched that movie like a couple weeks ago. Yeah. And The Rock is in there. And of course he's like gigantor.
Bro, you know that they are definitely on some sauce for this movie. Let me find one of both of them, like all yoked out. Here we go. Let me share my screen. This is a nuts photo. Where is this thing? Share. All right. Where's this bad boy? Chrome tab. I see this fucking dude. Look at this, bro. I mean, The Rock is just a massive human being, but like
Wahlberg's jacked in that too.
He's fucking huge, dude. You know they were juicing for sure. Like being that age is not easy to get this big, especially if it's like in a pinch to do a movie. Just
you should. I forget what I watched it on. It's free on either Netflix or Amazon or something like that. But I think you would get a kick out of it. It's sad that really happened, but it's a entertaining, like funny movie.
If they make it like funny.
This is funny because of how like ridiculous and dumb they are.
Okay.
Their plan and plot to do this stuff. It also has oh my god, I can't remember his name from the.
Was it Mekhi Phifer?
The general from The Rock. I'm trying to remember. Ed Harris.
Oh no way!
Yeah, he's like an investigator that comes after them. So, another advice I have for people too. You probably heard this term before yourself. Not your keys, not your crypto. Do not leave your crypto on the exchanges.
Anthony Mackie, that's what the dude's name is.
Yeah. They get hacked and like stolen. The exchange is stealing your
not
crypto
your keys, not your crypto.
Regulated.
What do you mean by that?
You definitely need to have your crypto like in a hard or like a hot or cold wallet. So either like a wallet on your computer or like a thumb drive, like a nano ledger or something like that.
Do you have to pay transfer fees to do that though?
Well, anytime you transfer crypto, from any wallet to another, whether it's exchange to exchange or whatever, you pay a fee depending on what it is. But for XRP, the fee is like nothing. So
so what would you think? All right, I'm an entry level crypto guy. I mean, I dollar cost average Bitcoin every week. That's the only crypto that I buy like on automatically, because I honestly think Bitcoin's going to be worth like 7 figures eventually, 6 figures for sure in our lifetime. But I have that on like, I shouldn't even say, but like My XRP is definitely not in a hardware wallet. At what point am I like, okay, I have this much money, I need to get a cold storage or something?
I mean, it's up to you. What if overnight the price goes to $1,000? Like, what amount of money would you be comfortable if you lost, if it was stolen or whatever, right? So I guess that's up to each individual person. I don't know. I wouldn't leave more than a couple $100 worth, but if those are what it's worth at the price is now, what if the price goes up, right? Like, if you truly, like, I think it has the potential to be like 5 or 6 figures easily. So at that point, like, even a few hundred XRP, that's a fucking lot. Like, the minimum you got to leave in a wallet, I think it used to be 20 XRP, but I think they cut that down. It's 10 or 5 or something like that now.
Okay.
Because you can't, the wallet has to have that to remain open. So you can't like fully pull that out. Obviously, as the price goes up, that'll get reduced down again. But I like your strategy of like buying over time. And when we were talking about like, not having the patience, like a good advice I would give that I've heard from like reading and following other people is like to have a plan in place before the price takes off of price points you're going to sell at and the amount you're going to sell at, because then it takes all emotion out of it when that happens. To give you an example, it'd be like, all right, let's say XRP goes to $10, right? Instead of like, when it's like like the all-time high it was I think $3.86 or 84, $3.86, 84 cents. It still hasn't surpassed that again during this last bull run, which I'm sure the lawsuit had, a big hand in that. But anyway, it did go to like $2.08 or 9 cents during that time. But like a lot of people were probably like, oh my God, it's going to go to like 10, like 100, like I'm not selling. But then it dipped back down now to 30 something cents. So, you could have taken profits, like giving ideas. So we did take some profits because we did need the money at the time to work on like a house we were flipping. And we went over budget. So we needed some more cash, but the money we pulled out, we got all our initial investment back out. So without like giving too many details, so I guess people couldn't figure out the amounts, like my dollar cost average, guess what it went to when I pulled out, sold enough to cover what we put in. The dollar cost average was 0.
So you basically pulled out your initial investment, and now you're playing with house money.
House money, exactly.
That's so fucking smart, dude.
So it's like,
how many times I've been given that piece of advice and not taking it until recently when I doubled up on Terra 2, and then I waited for it to dip, and I bought back in, and I was like, why didn't I just like sell half and then like let it ride? Like I was like, I'm so greedy, dude. It's not in a smart way. You know what I mean? Like I could have redeployed that capital again. Now I just sitting there and dude, I wanted to tell you this. I forgot. I use Kraken to buy Terra too. It's like one of the exchanges that still sells it.
Mm-hmm.
And it frickin' popped like $7, but you can't turn notifications on the iPhone app. And I'm like, just more of a set it and forget it investment style person, and I just didn't realize it, and I missed it. It was like my opportunity to like essentially double up again, and I could have like pulled out. No, I missed it. So
I wouldn't beat yourself up. I mean, that happened to me too. It's just why that I'm like, you just learn from those and you move forward.
Yes, dude.
Like the strategy I like to do is whatever for me, like my first selling point would be like a 4x of whatever my average buying cost was.
Wow.
Because then you could sell, roughly 25% of whatever you have and get all your money back out. But then you still have 75% of what you started. Like,
just let it ride.
That's great. Well, and then, price points along. So let's say like is the XRP to $10 example. So at, like $1.50 or so, like that would be basically like a 4x already right there. And then the price levels would be like, all right, when it hits $3, sell 10% of like the whole bag. And then at $4, like every dollar increment, sell like 10%, right?
Do you add on dips, or are you just like build it up when it's the like cheap investment and then just like sell it incrementally until it goes crazy? Or are you like dip, sell, buy, sell, buy? Like what's your strategy on that?
Well, initially we just had a goal in mind, and when we hit that goal, we just stopped and just sitting, just waiting. So I think it's different for every person. Like when you're, allotting like a certain dollar amount each week to buy, then I think you just keep buying regardless of what the price is, especially if you feel like it's going to go up, right? Like potential long term.
Yeah.
But was buying back in the amount that we initially sold because I want to get back to, that goal that we had before. So
Especially because it's so cheap right now.
yeah, why wouldn't you? Like, it's just like
Dude,
SongBird. I think
wait.
SongBird has a really good opportunity, like making passive
Dude,
income.
so why do you like
delegating
SongBird?
that.
I don't understand.
So it's part of the F Assets, which like partnered with, it was basically free for a snapshot if you held XRP back in December of 2019, I believe. I think the ratio was like 15 or 16 to 1. So like every 15 or 16 XRP you held, you got one SongBird for free. But you could delegate the voting rights for the SongBird each week, and you'll get rewarded an additional SongBird, which you can then transfer in any coin and sell or roll into other coins. So the passive income's good, and the year-on-year return is like 33%, something like that. But you get to collect it weekly, and you don't have to like lock your crypto up. A lot of staking is where you got to like 6 months, basically like a bank, right? Like depositing an account, and then the bank gets to like lend those coins out or sell those coins to people because that's how they stay liquid on the exchanges. They don't have enough of that coin, and then they'll pay you a return. Some of those are crazy. They're like 150% return. Like those are totally Ponzi schemes, in my opinion. I would be like really nervous to invest in those. Plus, your crypto's tied up for so long. So what if you're like in there for a month, you got 5 months left, all of a sudden the price skyrockets?
Yeah.
You can't sell it. You're stuck. But guess what? The exchange is doing? They're fucking selling your coins. They're making bank.
Dude, how do they make when I was in Terra, I was making like 100, 200, 300% APY. How the fuck do they do that? Like, how do they do stuff like that?
I think it's a Ponzi, like new money or new coins that are coming in to be deposited. They're using that to like pay reward coins to the other people.
So they have to essentially figure out a way to keep everything super liquid, mainly inbound. And then, I honestly, dude, like that, especially with the Terra thing, that was such a lesson because like everyone went like this. I'm making so much money. I don't care. And it was like, it didn't make any sense. Like, how do they create that money? Like, I was like, well, they're smart. They figured out a way to make even more money. So they're just giving me a portion of that. Like, clearly they weren't, because it freaking collapsed hard, dude. Oh my God.
A good analogy I've heard from someone before is it's like a bathtub, right? Like you're filling a bathtub full of water, but the plug is not in. So in order to keep the water from all draining out of the tub, you have to keep filling it with water. So the water that's currently in the tub is the people who staked their coins, and they're having to pay out the, like fees and interest to that. That's the water draining out of the tub. And in order to keep the whole thing going, it constantly has to be filling with water into it. That's the new people bringing their like coins in to be staked. So dude, guess what? As soon as you stop bringing new coins in, what happens to water in the tub if the plug's not in? It all drains out. And then what? Then all the people are SOL. So,
and honestly, dude, like there's this, I have like, and I don't even look at it anymore. It's like I've essentially coped with the loss of the money at this point because I had a lot, and I just go, hey, that's my investment tuition, essentially, right? That's a lesson. But it was like, there's still assets on there. They have like Mirror, which does like crypto mirror tokens of like stocks. It's on the Terra network or Luna or whatever. And they still say it's like 100% APY. And I'm like, where? I'm like, okay, let's see that happen. 5% daily APY. I'm like, it's not actually happening. So now I feel like that network's so jacked up, they're not even giving accurate representations of the like money gains and stuff like that.
Yeah, I don't really understand a lot of this staking because I don't trust that to participate in it. But if people
how do you trust SongBird then? Because you trust it because it's liquid daily. Is that why?
So you delegate. They do like you basically delegate to. They have all these different. I think they call them like FSTOs or whatever. Basically, like little companies. I think that you are basically just allowing your voting rights. So like 1 vote per coin or whatever. So you'll be like, all right, I have whatever, like 10 coins. So here's my 10 coins. Like, so you basically like hold them, but they just take a snapshot of the coins that you staked in there. And then they like close it at a certain time. So whatever the snapshot was at that time, that's the amount of voting rights you've provided for them. And that's also the amount that you've like provided to get a reward. But as soon as that snapshot happens, which it's weekly, you can like move your coins to wherever you want. Like the coins never leave
you just
your wallet
need them
to them
in whatever during the snapshot. So you can
correct.
Not that you're doing that because like who has time to do that shit all day? I mean, there's people who do that, but that was my whole thing. Always, it was like I just don't have time to manage this stuff. And that's another tip I want to give people. If you're like busy or you have like especially if you have like a full-time career where that keeps you busy, like no one is, you're going to forget like, oh, cool, Tesla's splitting today. Yeah, let me remind myself. And you'll forget. And then by the time you check, you're like, I don't want to pay for that. Like it's not worth having any investments that require a ton of maintenance. Like don't trade penny stocks unless you have time to watch your stocks. Don't buy shit that is like meme coins unless you have time to watch it. Cause when I was in Shiba, I went up a ton, sold, made a ton, bought back in a dip, and I just kept buying. And then it like crashed while I was busy. And it was like too late. Like you just hold it forever then, or I mean, I did. And then I just sold it recently, but you definitely need XRP or I don't know enough about SongBird, but like these longer term investments where you don't have to like catch the rip, at which is like, you know, those like penny stocks, it'll go up like 300% for like 5 minutes and shoot back down. Like you'll never catch that unless you're just staring at your computer all day.
Yeah, or you have buy and sell orders set at certain amounts, right?
Oh, hello. That's a really good idea.
But you got to be careful with those because you'll see crazy dips on the exchanges, and those are intentional by the exchanges manipulating the market to like liquidate people's.
You think it's the exchanges?
Yeah.
Or like, you don't think it's like a hedge fund or like a whale that's trying to like push people out to drop the price so they can like get back in? Or do you think that's actually the exchanges like going like boop boop with like
that's happening too? But like people who are investing on leverage. Right. So you deposit like, I don't know, like $100 an account, but they'll let you like bet 1,000, right? Because you promised to pay back. Like, and then you're like, I'm going to take my 1,000 and I'm going to bet that like this coin's going to go down 10%. So I'm going to put all my orders in for that. Well, you know what they do? The exchange can see all the orders that are placed, right? They just drop the price 12% to liquidate all the like.
How can they do that?
To liquidate, or they'll raise the price like whatever amount to like basically make those people have to cover their orders. And guess what? Now you only had $100. Now you got to come up with another 900. So that happens a lot intentionally, like up and down to get past those levels for people to like liquidate their position. And basically,
is that not illegal?
I mean, it happens in the stock market too. It technically is, but like the exchanges aren't, they don't have to follow any laws. And most of these exchanges aren't in the United States. So these are the warnings of just, you should never like invest on leverage anyway. It's a very, I think, bad idea, especially if you're new. Like, do not do that at all.
Dude,
be like
my
going
trading account is a leverage account.
If you're experienced, you had told me a story last time. I don't know if you want to share that. I thought it was really good when you were talking about when you're new and like figuring stuff out, the amount that you put on.
Yeah, so I was like, I want to get into the stock market. You do all this research, and then the first thing you think of, oh, let me paper trade. But like, you can paper trade all day and become a gazillionaire on paper because you have no psychological attachment to that money. So what you really want to do is put in an amount that is not a lot. Like I started with $100 on Robinhood, and it was enough to where I could make trades and not be scared if there was fluctuation. But it wasn't so little that I didn't give a shit at the time. This is several years ago. But then you slowly build up from there. Like I literally every week I'd put $100 in, $100, slowly grew the account. And then not only are you growing your account, you're growing your comfortability. The hardest thing about trading is psychology. I mean, we just spent 10 minutes talking about how not to cash out when you think you're like up a ton so that you can actually generate wealth versus like profit. So that's the most important thing is you start small and incrementally build the psychology.
Yeah, I like that. That's a really good tip. Like, if you're new to something, it's not a good idea to just be like all in. Wait a minute. I don't know. Like, I don't know if you're playing like some of the I forget what the games are, but if you were to play like Pai Gow at a casino, right, and you've never played before, and you're just watching, you're like, yeah, this looks easy. Like, I'll just put all my money on that. You should probably understand how the game works first of all, right? It's the same way with investing in stocks or crypto or anything else. Like,
and the biggest thing, honestly, at least for me, because I'm an experiential learner, is I have to do it, but then I have to have some skin in it, even if it's a slightly insignificant amount. That's the only way I'm going to learn. And actually, what I love about trading, it's a brutal teacher because you get instant feedback, usually very quick, and it's expensive. Like, you don't just like, oh, silver lining, here's a lesson. It's like, oh, I messed up and I lost money. Like that, especially if you're someone who's money motivated or money conscious, is going to be one of the best ways to essentially get that tuition. Oh, one thing you mentioned too was, and I wanted to touch on this because I was like, oh, what's the minimum amount you'd want for a hardware wallet? But like, if a coin goes up or even a stock goes up a ton, and you can't obviously have a hardware wallet for stocks, but the exchanges experience like buying delays or selling delays when there's like huge fluctuations or
down for maintenance. Oh, sorry, we're down for maintenance for the next 12 hours. So you ain't selling or
you can buy.
Shit.
I know it's at like the peak, but you can still buy. Yes. It's like, no, I want to sell it, dude. Why do they do that though? Like, I don't see would that just mess would the exchange lose money? Like, why
my
do
guess
they do
is
that
they
shit?
don't have enough money to cover everyone. Is why they do that.
Oh, like right? They literally couldn't. Yeah.
Like imagine
make a deposit.
Imagine if like Shiba went to $1. You know how many people are probably got like trillions of those coins? The exchange couldn't cash all those people out.
Oh my God.
So they basically like, I think they go down for maintenance to prevent that from happening. But while they're moving their coins, right? So they can make money that way. That's why it's, again, like if you hold in the long term and XR becomes like part of basically like a worldwide currency, like the price is going to be like, you're not going to be selling on exchange. Like, why would you sell any of it, right? Eventually it should just be a currency. Why would you switch in the US dollar? Like if the price goes up like it should with XRP, guess what? The dollar's probably finished. And for anyone who's paying attention, like it ain't looking good. Like,
what do you put it in then? Like, how do you trade value for value and like lock in the value?
I don't think you would need to get out of it because you get to the point where you would just make your purchases in XRP. Like it would be an accepted currency.
But there's a fine. There's my only concern with that is that there's a 100 trillion cap. What's the cap?
100 billion.
100 billion.
Yeah, and like 45 billion or 50 billion, like half of it's still locked up in the escrow.
So would they just have to create like how Bitcoin is like Satoshis or whatever they're called? Would they have to make like an altcoin to be like a more low, like a portion of an XRP, or would it just be like, okay, I'm going to make this purchase with like 0.6 XRP?
I think it would be the same to where it would be the same coin, but you could own fractions of it. Like the way it would work, it would almost be like a stable coin, except for instead of the price being pegged at $1, let's say the price is pegged at $1,000. So each one's worth that, and it just never changes. But
how would they do that?
If you get in early, just based on whatever the amount that they would feel that it's need to be able to transfer money. I mean, obviously it wouldn't be the only like currency in the world because people need, I think this is where like CBDCs and other companies will come into play to cover those amounts. But like XRP is more for financial institutions, governments to be transferring money, not like everyday like retail.
So if, let's say XRP pops and I want to sell, what would I put it in? Like your opinion is the value of the dollar is going to decrease and be essentially a non-holdable asset or investment. What would you put it in?
So there'll be like a new currency. There'll come some type of digital currency that governments will create that'll be backed by probably gold or silver would be my guess, or some type of like the BRICS, which is like Brazil, Russia, India, China, and South Africa, which they've had many more members joining recently. They're talking about creating their own, basically like basket currency that's going to be backed by commodities. And if you look
like
at
actually backed by precious metals.
yeah, so if you look at Russia, China, India, I think they have like 70% of the world's population or something like that. They've been buying so much gold and silver the last like decade, like moving tons and tons of it to their countries. So it's, I mean, that I think they're playing all along, and they recently just came out. We're like, yeah, we're going to do this. So, I mean, we'll see if it happens. But as far as the dollar, like, not to get into like way off a tangent, but if you look at OPEC and like how the dollar is basically like the petrodollar, like all oil before recently, all oil that was bought and sold like through OPEC and other countries had to be traded and bought and sold in US dollars, because basically the only thing that's kept the dollar like in existence because of all the money that's been printed with it. So it's constantly like losing its value. Well, guess what? Saudi Arabia wants to join the BRICS. So what do you think's going to happen when that happens, when they join them? You think Russia and China are already exchanging oil and natural gas in their own currencies, like in rupees or rubles or whatever?
Off the American dollar standard for oil now.
Those countries don't trade it anymore, and they won't accept, like Russia's been turning off gas for Europe, that countries aren't paying in their currencies. They're like, no, we're not taking US dollars anymore. So guess what? As soon as Saudi Arabia, they don't even have to say we're not taking US dollars. They just have to say we'll take US dollars and name any currency. And guess what? The US dollar is done. And there's rumors that that's already happened and Saudi Arabia's already agreed. It just hasn't become like public yet.
So essentially the dollar loses value because those, like, why does the dollar lose value based on it not being used?
Because that's like the only thing that's propping its price up in the market.
Because people have to hold on to it.
Being used for like to buy and sell oil, and countries have to hold it in their reserves to be able to buy and sell oil and natural gas.
Okay.
So they'll need US dollars to buy and sell. Isn't the number one
exporter of oil though? I read that recently. Let me Google this.
I don't think so. Like they definitely have the capacity to crank up and like send it out, but like Venezuela is South America's largest, and then Saudi Arabia and the other members of OPEC do like the majority of that area.
I read something crazy like U.S. is like one of the number one. Okay, well clearly I was wrong. So we are number 6. Saudi, Russia, Canada, Iraq, UAE, U.S. So we're 41 billion. Saudi 661. Holy shit.
But like
that's up 2021.
There's a lot of asset bubbles that are like way overpriced. Like the housing market's already in decline. The derivatives bubble is like insane. I don't know, like 200 trillion or some crazy amount that thing is going to like another house of cards at the stock market.
Dude, so according to this website here, dude, we produce the most oil, most barrels. Monthly production's 11.5 million. But Saudi's the largest exporter.
So we may produce that amount.
Oh, they have the largest reserves, but we are currently producing more. But they still have more than us.
But we probably use a lot of that for our own use.
We do export some, but I think but if we're not relying on oil, that doesn't play into this. It's essentially more the fact that like American dollars are exchanging hands and being stockpiled. Yes.
And it's not just Saudi Arabia. If you combine all the OPEC countries together, which that's like the conglomerate, I'm not saying that word correctly, but they combine like do majority of the oil exporting in the world. And Saudi Arabia is the main player, so they basically like set the price. And at any time, they're just like, we're going to produce less to make the price go up.
Why aren't we in OPEC?
I think it's only the Middle Eastern countries.
There's a bunch of countries. Pull this bad boy up.
I think it's more complicated with like I didn't know this before, but Iran is also joining the BRICS, and they basically provide most of the food to almost all the Middle Eastern countries because they have like the farmland to be able to produce in the climate like a lot of the other countries don't. Like I think Iraq, like 80 or 90% of all the food in Iraq comes from Iran.
That's what it's like.
So
what does Iraq export then? That's of value.
They used to
Really
do
like
oil. They still do,
oil.
like a lot of those countries. It's just not on the scale that like Saudi Arabia is doing.
But
to
it's
give you an
enough
idea,
to
like
essentially pay
BRICS is.
for.
I think
BRICS.
they also trade oil for food and other products
Okay.
that they
I
can't
was like,
get
they gotta have
naturally,
something
right?
of
Like,
value.
yeah, it's like China, right? They sell a bunch of trinkets and like, labor is their export for goods, and then they import all the stuff they can't like produce in the country themselves. But yeah, if you look into BRICS, it's crazy to think like the population they control, the natural resources. I mean, China basically controls like every rare earth element. They done bought up like all of Africa. So like all our like military technology and planes that get made, it's like all that material comes from China. Like electric cars, like solar panels.
Dude, this
like
microphone is from China, by the way. I was like, made in China.
It's not just that, but it's like all the earth elements that are in it that go into like computer chips and things like that. Like almost all that stuff comes from China. Like they're
the largest supplier of what the fuck do they put in is it lithium?
Yeah.
It's but what's the stuff that sand is made out of?
Like silicone?
Yeah, they're the largest producer of silicone, which is why they have like a microchip monopoly. But like the US is propping, that's another great investment, probably for another time, is semiconductor and microchip stocks. Although that whole market like crashed, which is weird because the CHIPS Act is it's like $52 billion. Intel's down like 30%, which is because I don't understand.
It's because the price of Bitcoin dropped so much. So people who are mining Bitcoin like slowed way down. Because if you were buying a gaming computer, like the the processors that you put in there, that's GPUs. What they use, to make the mining rigs. That's why the prices were so high and like they were selling so many like constantly all the time. But as soon as the price goes way down, it doesn't make sense. Like it's not economical to the power it takes to run them and make profit. So basically that industry is just like gone. So now these companies like, they ordered all these parts and now they're like, what are we supposed to do with all these chips? Like no one's buying them.
Like NVIDIA and AMD. Yeah, I still think I'm super bullish on Intel still. I think, and then Taiwan Semiconductor, they are making Apple's chips for their phones and computers next year. And that's down for some weird ass reason, but they have like a 13% dividend too. But I've been dumping money into that stock. I'm super bullish on that. But yeah, we're at the hour mark. We definitely covered a lot of topics. We kind of are all over the map, but definitely a lot of knowledge. Any final thoughts?
I would say, just to reiterate the things that we said, like don't invest or risk more than you're willing to lose. Like I know during the last, 2017 Bitcoin run when it was like going up to 20,000 and everyone was like, take a second mortgage out on your home and like all in on Bitcoin. Do not do that. Like that's terrible. Like no, don't do those kind of things. Like don't put yourself in a financial jam to where if it all of a sudden, if you lost it, you'd be like homeless. So that would be the biggest advice.
I honestly wish I had a little more YOLO in me. Like I'm very risk tolerant, but I'm not like YOLO level. Like those kids on Wall Street Bets that like leverage their money to like 100x and like become millionaires in like 6 days. I'm like, why don't I try shit like that? I'm like, because I don't want to ruin my life. But like, there's people out there doing that and succeeding. I wholly agree with you. It's a terrible idea, but I'm like, there's this little part of me that's like, I want to just fucking go all in on something, and you know what I mean? Like, it's exciting to think about.
But for
that's
every
not how you
one,
actually get rich.
Yeah,
that's how
for
you
every
lose all your money.
Everyone that succeeds, there's probably like 99 that are bankrupt and lose everything. Right?
Oh,
just remember,
you got to like leave the country, change your name, go live in Venezuela, maybe like a beautiful Latin woman.
I know that wouldn't be so bad.
Maybe it's worth it then to like get one roll of the dice, just knowing that if you fail, which you have about a 99% chance of failing, you could still have, but then you'd have to have this like alternative life where you like learn Spanish and like your wife's name is Rosa.
So if you want to try that plan, just go down to your local casino and just play roulette, which is like a 1 in 36 chance, and just pick a number. Yeah,
if
YOLO.
you go black and white, it's like, or black and red, it's like you have like a 49% chance, which is about the best odds you're gonna get it in a casino.
Yeah, but like the scenario you just gave, like your odds are not 50-50.
No, it's not.
You'll do the leverage trading. That's what I'm saying.
Forget.
Like, just go on the roulette table where your odds are 1 in 36, which are like way better than what they would ever be, like YOLOing out on some crazy leverage trade. And then when you lose it, you'll be like, oh fuck, I'm glad I only lost like $100 doing that instead of like my entire future.
Dude, my cousin, by the way, and I know we're like going on tangents and still, but I'm just enjoying this. I saw him win like 10 times in a row in roulette. Betting on, it was probably 3 times, but betting on numbers. He bet on 0, 00, and then like 2 other numbers. They're like his lucky numbers. And he hit like back to back to back and like, I would say doubled his money. And then we left. I was like,
was he parlaying or pushing?
I don't even, winnings? I don't understand roulette. Like if I like with gambling, I'm very suspicious because it's just like the odds suck, except Hold'em because it's just like more skill. But yeah, he was literally, he would just roll it over, whatever that is. He would just be like, yeah.
Yeah, I forget which is which. One of them, so it's either press or parlay, where it's like you put all your winnings back on the same bet, like with your initial bet. And then parlay is like you match your bet, but take your extra winnings. I think it is something like that. Like I love playing craps, and I like to just throw a little bit out on the hard ways. And then, usually it's like whatever, $5 minimum table or something like that. So put like $5 on all the hard ways. And then when one hits, press. Yeah. Oh, winner, hard 6. Like, press my bet. So I think that one is 7-1, or maybe it's 9-1. I think hard 6 is 7-1.
God,
so if you have $5 out there, now you got $35. And if it hits again, bam. So
people get so excited with the possibility. It's like, but if I hit it, it's like, dude, you're not going to hit it. Like, it happens, but like, it's not going to happen. Like, let's be real. Like, yes, people hit the jackpot, but it's not going to happen.
I love playing craps with my brother. And one time we were in South Lake Tahoe on the Nevada side. I don't know if you've ever been there before, but it's like this high alpine lake that's on the California-Nevada border. It's really beautiful. It's like the second largest alpine lake in the world for depth, or I don't know, some ridiculous fact. But anyway, we're like super smashed at one of the casinos, and I was like, I'm gonna go take a piss. And someone was like throwing the dice, and when I came out from the bathroom, like everyone's cheering, like, and I'm like, oh shit, I better hurry. And so I was like, I think I threw down like $80. I was like $20 on each of the hard ways. And then I was like, who's shooting? And then I look, and my brother was rolling, so he had the dice, and I was like, oh shit, this is not good. I don't know. I'm just like, when one of us is rolling, the other's betting. It's like that we're going to do well. It usually doesn't work out well. And as soon as that happened, I was like, damn it. I shit you not. The next roll was like craps. And he just crapped out.
That's when you roll a 7, right?
Yeah. So I lost my $80 one turn, which is, I mean, that's not like a lot, but like that's a lot to put on the hard ways.
Dude, that's exactly.
Normally when I put like 5.
That's essentially a YOLO bet right there.
And that's how you learn, like, and start drinking. That's why the drinks are free at the casinos, because they know you're going to be an idiot. And
every time I've ever played in like I used to play a lot of cards, and every time I've ever played in a Hold'em tournament, I would get up a ton and then get wasted and start getting real loose and aggressive, and then freaking lose all my money. Not every time. I've won money, of course, but yeah, gambling and drinking are very fun, but not advisable. It's essentially like you're just playing for fun because you know you're going to lose the money at that point. But yeah, so I think all tangents aside, you make an awesome point. Like, don't bet money you don't have. It's not even betting. It's like, do your due diligence. And when you found a sound investment, even then, don't go all in. Like, make it to a point where, like, I forget sometimes that I have investments because it's like, I've already like the money isn't my money anymore. Like, it is my money, but I don't think about it as like liquid capital. It's just like, it's gone. Right. So like, I would be super pissed and upset if I lost it all, but like, I can afford to lose it. So like, even when Terra crashed, like I was like, fuck, that sucks. I was like, Okay, that's a good lesson. But like, I wasn't putting so much in that I was like, I just freaking like can't put my kids into school or whatever, right?
Mm-hmm. So what would be the one takeaway or advice that you would have?
I think there's so many good nuggets. I really like having the hard wallet so that you're not like beholden to the liquidity of the exchanges. But I think, man, I think having a system for your cells is kind of the only way that I know I'll be able to have the patience to actually build wealth when I get excited and I want to pull out. Like, at least you can like capitalize at like intervals and still like build that long-term wealth, you know, like don't like YOLO it forever. And it's like, there's always going to be an outlier. There's going to be a weird dude who's like bought GameStop at a nickel and like still holding, even though it went to like $500 and it's back down. And he's like, I'm going to hold forever, diamond hands, bro. Like, yeah, maybe that guy makes a gazillion dollars down the road. But I think for me, it's like once anything gets to a point of where you're like, oh my God, this is like an amount of money that is really going to be life-changing. It's worth like capitalizing on that.
Yeah, I like that a lot. And any profits you take, you roll that into another investment, right? Like spreading your kind of investments out, so it's not all your eggs in one basket. You know, moving that into real estate, things like that. Something that's a lot safer, I would say. Yeah, that's good.
You pop the like nut investment and then you roll it into like a safe investment. Like, oh shit, I just made X gains.
Yep.
All right, cool. Now it's in something stable. Dividend stocks, I mean, they're not sexy by any means, but you get a bunch of cash at 5%, you can, you know, make a decent amount of money and then slowly accrue that. Then you take more of your income into your aggressive investments, pull a little more out when those pop, and you just keep rolling it until your, you know, income's passive, which is, I think, both of our ultimate goal, to be like able to not have a job description.
Yeah, free to, like people say, money doesn't buy happiness, which is true. Like happiness is internal, which these are all topics for other podcasts that we could do, but like money buys time, and that time you can use to go do what makes you happy. Whether that's,
you'll live multiple lives.
Yes.
Like if you don't have to like do laundry or go to work every day, punch the clock. How much more time do you have to actually live? Shit, dude, you know,
spend with your family, with your kids, doing hobbies that you enjoy or whatever, helping people, volunteering your time. Like the list is endless for whatever makes people happy.
Playing with Japanese spider crabs.
Yes. The small
They make
ones.
Noises.
I don't, probably, but you can't hear anything at the aquarium. They're just like sleeping all the time.
The sound doesn't travel underwater. Yeah, no,
they're definitely probably
like
nocturnal.
Click, 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 click.
Occasionally you'll see their mouth moving, and I'm like, all right, well, I guess it's not fake because part of it is moving.
Oh, they like don't even move, really?
I think they sleep during the day, and the aquarium's only open during the day. They're probably nocturnal. Occasionally you'll see one's arm moving a little bit. That's creepy.
What do they feed them? Fish? What do they eat? Like
I don't know what they eat. I mean, whatever it is, it can't be too fast because they look like a sloth. Like I've never seen them move fast ever.
That's one of those things where if someone told me, I'd be like, interesting. And like I'm at a computer and I could Google it, but I like don't, you know what I mean? Like I don't care enough to Google it. Now I have to because I just said that. But it's like, it's funny because we have technology, and I seriously have conversations all the time where I'm like, that would be interesting to know, but I'm not going to look it up. I just Googled Google. Okay. Japanese spider crab food.
Yeah, that's part of the instant gratification or whatever that people have nowadays. Like the youth who's had a cell phone since they were born. I remember being in high school. If you want to know the answer to something, like we had a set of encyclopedias. Like you pulled out the encyclopedia and you looked it up, or the dictionary. So you had to really want to know what the answer was instead of just
like break out the thesaurus or the dictionary, or like I had like, there's a grocery store called Jewel, which is owned by Albertsons by where I grew up. And if you bought like a pot or a pan or some shit, they'd give you like a letter of the dictionary. So like every week we bought a new thing, and I think we got to like F. So I had like half or like a third of the encyclopedia. So if any word started with A through F, I was on it. Other than that, though, I have no knowledge of anything G through Z. But yeah,
you had to find someone who had the other 2/3, and then you have like a great trivia trio.
They got into like the like pots and pans purchases like late,
Mm-hmm.
and when we were like just ducking out because we were like, dude, how many more pots and pans do we need? But yeah, so this is awesome. I actually like that we bounce around so much, but I definitely feel like there are some awesome topics here. So season 1, episode 3 in the books. I set up my light, but I'm going to set up an even brighter one next time because I think yours looks awesome. But yeah, man, I appreciate your time and hope you all enjoyed the listen. Check us out. We're on Anchor, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, and Google Podcasts. And then our YouTube channel. So make sure you subscribe. New videos every week. And appreciate y'all listening. Hope you guys have a great night. Bye.